Alrighty, welcome everybody to Full Circle Magic Q&As. I'm your host, Alex Borton, and today we have with us the amazing Diamond Jim Tyler. Woo!
Contain yourself.
Hey, so Jim, since we're building viewers right now and everybody's just hopping on the live view, can you kick things off with us? Start telling us just a little bit about your beginnings, where you came from, how you got where you are.
Sure. I started practicing magic when I was 5, but it really all started when I was 2. My grandmother used to give me playing cards as a baby. She knew I loved to play with cards, and so by the time I was 3 years old, I knew every card in the deck. It's truly how I learned how to count. When I was 5 years old, I found a magic book from Disney World, and read that book, and it taught me over 100 tricks with a deck of cards. And so by the time I was 6 years old, I knew over 100 cool tricks with a regular pack of cards. And then as a teenager, I grew up, found a magic shop, bought everything they had. Then I started working there. I pretty much ran that shop for 7 years while I was in high school and college. Paid my way through school doing magic, doing restaurant magic, and working there. One thing led to another. Actually, the very last year I was in school, found out I had cancer, had Hodgkin's disease. I had to drop out of school, take care of the cancer. But magic had been so good to me, I just kept pursuing the magic. Before I knew it, I was winning awards. My first book came out, did very well, and ended up helping pay for my house. And then before I knew it, I was traveling the world lecturing and all the products since. So it's been very good to me. I think in the last, 10-something years, I've done magic in 44 states and 21 countries. So.
Wow. That's a that's a big portfolio to have. And I mean, you're an author, you're a creator, you're a performer. You do guest appearances on Scam School. You're just such a busy guy, and I just want to thank you again for spending a little bit of time with us today.
No, thanks for having me.
All right, so viewership is growing, so I think it's only appropriate that we kind of go over what the schedule is today. We got you for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
We're going to be hosting a live contest here around midway, 45-minute mark, where you'll be texting me a specific message to win. Should we tell them now?
Sure. Well, they're pretty new. It's the math sticks. They're real popular right now. Magic math sticks. Fits in your pocket, and when you do it, it looks like you're a superhuman calculator. There's 4 little wooden sticks, and they have numbers on different sides. They can roll them, whatever, and they're always going to come up with a different number when they add up the totals. But you, the magician, can always predict what that total is going to be before they can put in the first number into their calculator. And if you want to do it the magic way, there's a way to do it where you don't even look at the numbers, and you can still give them the total. And so anyway, these have been real popular. They've been selling fast for me. So yeah, we're going to give a set of those away soon.
Awesome. So listen in for the keyword to text me in the links in this thread is my personal page. I will get to them as quickly as possible, and that will be like a radio contest. I believe we're taking something like the 21st message. So just keep on messaging in, and I will get to them just as they come in. Beyond that, we have another week-long prize that we will announce towards the middle end of the show, and Jim has agreed to share with us some special deals and stuff like that. So we'll be getting to that at some point. So stay tuned, and we'll get to all of that craziness. All right. So shall we jump into some questions from the crowd?
Far away.
All right, so the first question I wanted to go with is by Laura Isley, our great admin.
Yep.
She asks, when did you first perform at the Magic Castle, and what did it feel like for you?
Sure. It was 1999, and it was right after I'd won the award at the Texas Association of Magicians for Best Close-Up Magic, and I think also my book had just come out as well, and so I heard from the castle, and they wanted me to. I really wanted to do the close-up room, and they offered me the parlor, and so anyway, I took it. I mean, it's the castle. I wanted to work there. And I found out I love the parlor. I've since done it many, many times. And I've done the close-up gallery many times. But that first time, of course, you're going out, you're nervous. You know, you think that all the magicians are going to be sitting there, you know, with crossed arms and shooting you daggers, you know, trying to size you up. And well, what I found was the opposite to be true. The people that come there are just people that love magic, and they make you feel like a star. You know, it's not like any other gig on the planet, because when we go do award banquets or people's birthdays, you know, the kids want to get to the cake and the presents. You know, the magician's kind of an extra thing. Or, you know, if it's a corporate thing, you know, they've got a spiel that they've got to deliver at the end, and you're just kind of the entertainment beforehand. But at the castle, I mean, people are there to see you. They want to shake your hand. They want to get your pictures with you, but unfortunately can't do photography in the castle and stuff. But it's just a cool venue. I mean, and it's such a conducive place to magic, the way they built each showroom. And back then, when I first worked it, you know, you pay for your flight out, and you rent a car, and you pay for the hotel, and by the time you go home, you lost money. But you could say, you know, you worked the castle. But nowadays, they're treating the performers really well. The pay's better. You know, they're putting me up now, putting up the other guys. They pay for their place. And so it's the last several times I've gone, I've made great money. And there's no other gig like it. Actually, that was, you know, I mentioned the first time. The very last time, I was flattered. The Magic Castle now stocks my Bamboozler books in their gift shop. And one of their customers, or I guess guest clients, came in. They wanted to do a special night for about 100 of their people in their group, and they wanted to give them something, you know, special. So they thought of my books, and they said, you know what, it'd be awesome if we could get this guy here at the party to entertain us and show us some things from these books. And the cast was like, yeah, we can get it for you. And so these people flew me out to work 1 hour and entertain them, make great money that night, and then, you know, sit down and chat with them after in the restaurant, talk about the books and things. So it's awesome for me. I get to fly out there for one night and see all my friends in Hollywood. And, so, yeah, Castle's great. If it's not on your bucket list of places to go see, every magician needs to see that place someday. So, anyway, I know I got off track a little bit, but yeah, the first time, nervous at first, but once you've done it, you know, it's great. So.
Right, and as we talked earlier, I'm in Arizona, and I'm actually planning here in the next couple of years, hopefully sooner than later, to move actually out towards Vegas so I can be that much closer to the castle. I'm actually driving distance at that point.
Yeah, I've been there twice, so you're halfway there. So.
Yeah, right, absolutely. Actually, a great segue question. Scott Anderson asks, what was your favorite place to perform and why?
My favorite place to perform and why? You know, it's hard to pick one. I've had lots of interesting gigs. One of my favorites that I've come back to pretty much year after year. It's a local family, and the story. Here's the story. Basically, an agent had called me to do a gig in town one week. And it was for Jerry Jones, the guy that owns the Dallas Cowboys. So I showed up at his house. I do magic for Jerry and his family and everybody else that's there. And Jerry actually loaned me his Super Bowl ring to do my ring and string with. And of course, I acted like I wasn't going to give it back, and I walked away. And he's like, "Oh no, come back here." And but when I left there, I thought, you know, I've done magic a long time, but this is probably the biggest mansion that I've ever worked in. And then I get a call the next day from a different agent, and they wanted me to work an address on that same street. And so I was like, wow, another billionaire. And so it was for the Crow family, and I didn't know who the Crows were. And so as I call my contact that day to show up at the house, they said, when you pull in, Jim, be sure that you pull into the new library, not the old library. I said, now wait a minute, this is a house, right? They said, yeah, you'll understand when you get here. When I pulled up to this estate, it was like 3 mansions that were all connected, literally. It was a huge estate. And when I walked in, it was like walking into the White House. Marble floors and pillars. art that looks like you're in the Smithsonian. Literally, I went up and looked at things in display cases, and I looked at this little teeny tiny book, and it was like one of two by Benjamin Franklin. You know, they had the death mask of Lincoln and all this just exquisite art everywhere. And the lady of the house, I didn't realize this was Trammell Crow's son and daughter. Trammell Crow is one of the biggest real estate magnates in the U.S. And he died many years ago, but he was a billionaire and left all his wealth to this family, his sons and daughters. And they continued on with that tradition. Like, they own several hotels here. They own probably 20% of the real estate in Dallas. You can imagine what their net worth is. And so the lady of the house says to me, hey, can you do your show for the kids, because the adults are visiting? And I was like, you know, I really didn't come to do a kid show. I was hired to entertain everybody, the adults. And she goes, if you could, I'd really make us happy. And, you know. And so she sent me off to this little room to get ready. And while I'm getting ready in the room, I'm noticing Fabergé eggs in this room, and you know, just priceless art on the walls. And I've studied art in college and things, and when I look at this grouping on the wall, I see two landscape paintings, but in between them is a portrait of Winston Churchill. And I thought that was an odd grouping. Now, when I leaned in to look at the signatures, I realized that all of these had been painted by Winston Churchill. He was an artist. And so I was like, oh my God. And so I walked out of the room and I let her know that I was ready. And I see all these books stacked up by Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. And when I look up, there he is. And he says to me in his deep voice, like James Earl Jones, he's like, you know, who are you? And I said, well, I'm the magician. And, you know, I'm here to entertain you. He's like, well, show me something. And so I did, and he started screaming like a little kid who'd never seen magic. And so he's like, can you do something else? I'm like, yeah, of course. And so I did more, and all of a sudden a crowd gathers. And now the lady of the house is like, can you do this for everybody? I'm like, yeah, of course I can. That's what I'm here for. And so later, Clarence, his wife, took pictures of me, and she sent me the pictures. And Clarence sent me a nice letter from the Supreme Court later, thanking me for the show. And every year he's had me back since to entertain him. And so the last time I was there, a few years back, I took out a little yellow card and said, would you please sign this for me? He said, yeah, what is it? And he signed it, and it was my get out of jail free card from Monopoly. And he thought that was hilarious. I said, yeah, I never know when I might need this. So anyway, so that's a pretty good story. Actually, I'll tell you a neat story, too. I've got the picture right here on the wall. I don't know if the guys can see this. That's me and Clarence, and there's a picture of the 4 of clubs signed by Clarence. And that was the first time we met. He signed it. Now, normally when I have something signed, I give it away. But since it was him, I thought, well, I'm going to keep this, of course. But as I left, I realized that card had a significant meaning, more than just his signature. Now, that was the 4 of clubs. If anyone can tell me what the nickname was the 4 of clubs is, I will, in the next minute, I'll give them a set of my winning spinning nickels. Okay? Anywhere in the world, I'll ship them. So 1 minute. So
you want them to send the message to you or me?
Send it to you.
Send it to me. All right.
It has a nickname, so they've got a minute. So anyway, I kept the card, I framed it, whatever, and I'm going to tell you what the nickname of that card is. But before I tell you the nickname of the card, what will Clarence Thomas always be known for? What's the first thing people think of when they think of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas?
First thing oh crap, sorry, I put on my alarm for a minute.
Has the minute up?
No, it just didn't start properly. Another 20 seconds. Nobody's messaging in though.
Well, most people are probably too young to realize this, but Clarence was the first person on television that was in a big sex scandal. He was Anita Hill.
Okay.
And it was big breaking news at the time. You know, this guy apparently using his power to, you know, over his secretary. And so, is our minute up?
Give it 20 seconds.
Okay. I want somebody to win these, but
I'm not getting any messages.
no one knows. Well then,
I don't think so. Okay. That's 20 seconds. Let's go ahead and give
the nickname of the 4 of clubs is the Devil's Bedpost. How ironic that he chose that. It was not a forced card. It was truly freely selected, and he signed it. But how ironic that, all the good things this man has done in his life, that's probably going to be the one thing that people always remember him for. So
And
anyway,
that
I never told him that story. I didn't think he would appreciate it as much as I did. But
I agree. And actually, that was something I didn't know. I'm 25 myself, so there's a lot of stuff and history that I just, especially things like that I'm not aware of. But that's
yeah,
coincidences sometimes, right?
yep.
All right. Let me get back up onto. I have to get away from my stopwatch and back onto the questions. All right. Actually, I just got a message in. The Big Four was one of the answers.
Okay.
But not quite it.
No, yeah. If you analyze it, the clubs look like hooves, and there's four of them, so bedpost. It all kind of makes sense. Very few clubs have a nickname, but that's one of them. So
I'll have to keep that in mind. That's really good kind of inside information to be able to use in a routine if you want. Mark Rosbach asks, have you noticed the amount of bookings of an increasing amount of bookings, or been able to increase your fees, so to speak, since your appearances on Scam School?
I mean, yeah, my rates go up every year. I don't. It's hard to measure Scam School success. I've had people say that they've seen me on Scam School, but I don't recall most of my corporate clients or people that book me saying, "Hey, I want to book you because I've seen you on Scam School." But I've got to a gig and people have recognized me. Like one last year, I did Microsoft's Christmas party here in town, and there was a lot, of course, techie people there. People were saying they'd seen me on Scam School. In fact, one story was kind of funny. This lady I approached, it was towards the end of the night, and it's a big round table, 10 people at the table. I introduced myself as a magician. I wanted to show them some fun things. And this lady goes, "Oh, my son knows probably how to do everything you're going to do." And I said, "Really?" I said, "How old's your son?" She goes, "Oh, he's 12. And so, of course, he hadn't seen me do anything. And so anyway, I started to do magic, and everyone at the table was amused and amazed, and she was too, but of course she didn't want to let me know that. And while I'm doing my set, she took a picture of me with her cell phone. And I see her typing away on her phone, and I'm thinking, well, she's being kind of rude, but anyway, I'll just continue. And then a couple of minutes later, she goes, "I just sent that to my son, and he says you're famous." And I said, "Well, maybe in certain circles, but obviously you don't know who I am, so that's fine." But
Right.
yeah, no, it's fun. Most people, I don't. It's funny. It's all relative. I was in Fort Wayne, Indiana, a couple weeks ago doing a lecture, and the boys and I all went out to IHOP. At 2 o'clock in the morning, we're visiting, and some stranger in a booth, truck driver or something, walked up. He's like, "Are you Diamond Jim Tyler?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, I know you from Scam School." So it's funny. It's everywhere.
Yeah, Brian has such a huge following with that, and it's great. I had known you a little bit before. I had seen you on Scam School. Just a couple of things, just from researching and whatnot. And when I saw you come on, I'm going, I know him.
That's what's weird is when people approach me, they act like they know me, and I don't know them. And so it's strange. It's like, do I know this person from a gig? Have they been to my home? It's kind of unsettling when they know you and you don't know them.
The trials and tribulations of fame, right?
Well, yeah, I'd rather be rich than famous.
Any day, any day. Oh, here's a good one. David McGee asked.
I know Dave McGee.
Yeah, I've actually had a few Skype sessions with him. We talk somewhat frequently. He asks, what trick have you used and still inspires you today?
What trick? Huh. Well,
Something
ring and string still is probably one of my go-to effects in close-up and stand-up. just because you're using their ring and it just has a lot of power. Sweet, another one of my effects where a signed coin ends up in a sealed packet of sugar. You know, that's a very strong effect. Diamond Jack, it's an old story that was first in print in 1936 in the Encyclopedia of Card Tricks. Eugene Berger reworked it, I reworked it, and it's actually going to be my next DVD release. It's one that I've used to close shows for 25 years now. And what's unique about this card story, unlike some of the others, it has a romantic ending. And so it gets some, you know, it kind of has a warm fuzzy at the end for the audience. I've seen people lean in and hug or, you know, or ooh, ah, you know, at the end. But it's also got lots of punny humor. You know, I can always count on 20, 30 bursts of laughter. So I don't know, those are some that I still use that I've been using for 20, 25 years now.
I love, and I think the audience too. It's one thing to come out and show tricks and like perform for somebody, but to move an audience, especially an entire audience, is just like really what it's all about. I think
It's really, you know, it's to me, I'm drawn to routines where I can tell a story, where I have jokes and things that I can use, because it's really more about the journey there instead of the end effect, the very moment. I tell you who's really good at that and really impresses me. I mean, there's lots of guys, but Bill Malone. One convention, there was a guy supposed to show up at midnight to give a lecture, and for whatever reason, that guy didn't show up. And Bill Malone stepped in at the last minute and decided that he would entertain everybody. Mm-hmm. And so it was supposed to be a lecture, and he did one routine during the hour, 2 hours that he spoke. But he kept everybody in stitches for that full 2 hours. And there's not a lot of guys that can do that, but he's one of them. And so that says a lot. You know, any guy that, I mean, there's an old saying that actors hate comedians, comedians hate magicians, magicians hate clowns, and clowns hate mimes, but then again, everybody hates mimes. But the point about comedians hating magicians is that because we use props, and they don't have to. And of course, actors, you know, don't like comedians for obvious reasons because they don't consider it dramatic. They consider it kind of blue humor and things. But there's a lot of truth to some of those things. So if you can just get up with a microphone and just entertain people, and Dave McGee, who usually ribs me and gives me a hard time when we speak and asks me ludicrous questions, he's another one of those guys that can do that. So.
All right. Actually, this might not be the same David McGee.
It may not be. Okay. This David McGee, I think of as a headliner at the WinStar Casino here in Oklahoma.
No. This is no. David McGee is actually he's a buddy of mine. He just started a few months ago, actually.
Oh, okay.
So, different David McGee, but he's I'm sure he's sitting there going, Diamond knows me.
It's funny, no one's addressed my attire, my costume yet.
Yeah, no, not that I've seen. I think everybody's thought the same thing I thought, which was, hey, it's Diamond Jim Tyler.
What's funny is I never dressed with rhinestones and all this crap all over me. I mean, I guess I could for stage, but I have about 50 suits that I wear. But my sister bought this for me for Christmas last year, and it's still got the tags on it here. I didn't have the heart to take it back because she thought so much to buy it for me. So this is actually the first time me ever wearing this, so I just thought it would be funny for the interview. And I'm wearing my sunglasses indoor because when you're cool, you know, the sun shines on you 24 hours a day.
I can understand that. It's hard basking in your own light. I get that. Actually, speaking of Diamond Jim Tyler, Scott Anderson asks, how did you come up with the name Diamond, or was it just a nickname?
Well, whenever I did magic, I started doing magic professionally when I was 16 years old. Started doing restaurant magic. And I didn't know that many other magicians. And people from time to time would want to tell me the story of their other magician encounters. You know, after you do your set, they go, "I saw a magician once," and I'd say, "Well, who was it?" And they could never tell me their name. They could tell me what they did and what they looked like. Never could they remember their full name. And so I thought, man, people really have a hard time remembering people's names. So I thought, I need a handle. I need something that will be memorable. And every time I would perform for my stepfather, he would say, "Hey, Hollywood. Hey, Diamond Jim." And I thought, Diamond Jim, that's got a good ring to it because it conjures up images of a cheat, con man, card shark. Diamond is my birthstone. And two, it makes people smile when they say it. You know, who doesn't want Diamond Jim at their party? And so anyway, I started using Diamond Jim back then, and little did I know it would serve well for name branding for the rest of my career. And now with my products, you know, you can Google Diamond Jim, and I'm like one of the first things that pops up.
Absolutely. Man, a lot of these questions just kind of segue into each other, and I love it. Lee Palmer asks, how do you describe yourself on your business card? Do you say magician, illusionist, magical entertainer? I'm pretty sure he's just kind of asking you a branding question in general.
Oh, what does it say on my business card?
Hmm?
I've got one right here. It says author, because that gives you, well, I'll go through them in a minute. Author, magician, inventor, award winner, world traveler, jokester, sexy superstar.
I like that.
So anyway, and all these I put on here with good reason. I've thought about this. These are not just jokes. So first of all, it has a picture of me with Jay Leno. So right off the bat, that gives me credibility. They're like, this guy's entertained superstars, and he's hanging out with people that are in the entertainment business that know. And I've actually opened for Jay a couple times, not on his show, but at different events and things. And then magician, of course, everybody's got a different idea what a magician is. Some people think of Bozo the Clown. Some people think of, you know, stage illusionists. Some people think of mind readers. So that's kind of an open, you know, you got to be careful when you call yourself a magician because everybody's got a different idea what that is. Inventor, that tells them that I'm a creator, that I, you know, create a lot of my own things. Award winner, like, oh wow, his peers have even, you know. And my world traveler, the reason I put that is not to boast, but that's to let my clients know, especially in the corporate world, this guy will travel anywhere in the world for a gig. Jokester, I'm pretty notorious for my practical jokes and things that I pull on friends. Ask any of the magicians that I've hung out with at conventions. Usually I'm getting them with some kind of jokes, and I'll tell you some of them later if you want to hear them. And then sexy superstar, that just tells you I'm not taking myself too seriously, that, you know, whatever. I'm just being funny. So anyway.
Right, it's boasting, but going, hey, look at me. I'm not.
Like, who's this guy thinking he is, right? But right before it says jokester, so they know that I'm kidding, so or at least half kidding. So.
By the way,
I tell people, you know, I say after they see me perform, I say people think that magicians have powers, and that is not how this stuff works. I'm just smarter and better looking than most people.
You don't mind if I use that, do you?
Oh yeah, it's in one of my Bamboozler books. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's lots of great lines in all these books. So beyond the bar bets and tricks and puzzles and stuff.
Just as a quick side note, Laura Isley said, "Oh, I noticed Jim. He looks so cool."
Well, I'm flattered. So.
Absolutely. All right, so we're just getting close up. We're just past the half-hour mark. Let's go ahead and start that quick competition for the live viewers.
Okay. We're talking about matchsticks.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the magic matchsticks. So what the magic word is sticks.
Yep.
So yeah, spell it into the way they want. But the 21st, what message?
Yeah, 21st message right to my inbox, and I'll send you back first, second, third as they come in.
I'll
Uh,
ship I'll ship them anywhere in the world. So whoever says
all right, so I'm going to get like a slew of messages while we're doing this, but if you want, can you kind of go over a quick demo on your the prize kind of at the end and what we want to do with that?
oh yeah. I'll let you just talk about the bigger prize.
Your prize, and if you want to touch on anything else or save the rest of our special deal stuff to the end, that's fine. But
Yeah.
go.
Let me go over some of the special deals real quick, and then I'll tell them about the prize. So, my Bamboozler books, there's 3 volumes. Each one of these has 75 bits of business, and people like them because they fit in their pocket. And there's tons of material, things that I use in my stand-up and close-up all the time. But they're quickies, things that you can just walk in with practically nothing and entertain people with. But anyway, the books go for $20 each. On my website, you can get them for $50 plus shipping. So the special is right now for viewers, and I'll do this until the end of the week. So let's just say Saturday, the October 4th, is the last day they can claim this, 2014. All 3 books for $40 plus shipping. So shipping in the U.S. is going to be about $5. Overseas is probably going to be more like 10 to 15. But anyway, they're saving $10, and they can PayPal that money directly to magic@diamond-gym.com. Magic@diamond-gym.com. So $40 plus shipping. Let's just say $5 in the U.S. and $10 outside the U.S. And then the other special, I've got lots of DVDs. I've got 7 out right now, and they go from anywhere from 25 to 35 retail. And so I'll make a deal where they can pick out any 3 DVDs they want right now for $50 plus shipping. So they're basically buying 2 get 1 free any way you look at it. There's some other specials on the site, but this is going to be the better special. Again, $5 US, let's just say $10 outside the US. The magic@diamond-gym.com PayPal address. And now for the big contest. We'll see if anybody. One of my favorite characters in fiction is Sherlock Holmes, and I've studied a lot of Sherlock Holmes stories. I've actually been to the top of the Rockenbach Falls in Switzerland, where apparently Moriarty and Sherlock went over the falls. That just shows you what a diehard fan I am of Sherlock. I've actually told my wife that's where I wanted to throw my ashes off the Rockenbach Falls. Because if you remember in the story, if you've read it in the books, technically Sherlock didn't die. He faked his death, and he came back later. But you're going to have to be a Sherlock Holmes to figure this one out. One of my very first products that I ever released was a little box that had little LED lights on it. I'm kind of showing you that now. And on the back, there's a switch, an on and off switch, but also a sound switch on the back that you could adjust. So if they can tell me the name of this product, I'll give them something pretty cool. I'll show them what that prize is. But I'm going to give them another clue about this, because they're going to have to do a lot of Google research to find this. Max Maven once reviewed this in a magazine when this first came out, which was probably the early 90s when this came out. So they're going to have to look hard to find it. But if they can tell me the name of this thing, they're going to win a prize. And that prize is, when Bamboozlers 3 came out, just before it came out, the printer sent me a proof sheet. It's kind of like a uncut sheet of cards, but there was only 5 of them, and I've got them. Let me open it up, kind of show everybody what it looks like here. Only 5 of these remain. I think I have 2 or 3 left, but it's an uncut sheet of the books of a lot of the pages in the book, and I'll sign this and send it again anywhere in the world. And so, anyway, there's only 5 made, so that's it. It's a proof sheet of the book. And it's pretty big. I think the dimensions are on my website somewhere, but you can kind of see how big this thing is. It's like a poster.
You.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I thought that'd be a unique something to give away that not everybody's going to have.
No, that's. I mean, it's not quite one of a kind, but that's just about as close to one of a kind as you can get.
Yeah.
Let me see here. We keep on getting messages in. We haven't quite gotten 21 to the 21st yet. Let's see here. All right. All right, I'm going to leave that sit for a second and go back and look at them and look in order because we're at about 18 right now, but I keep on getting spammed over and over.
Okay.
So let's see here. I'm going to leave that at that, and we'll go ahead and announce the winner at the very end, if that's okay with you.
Of course.
Perfect.
Yeah, give me another question. What do they want to know?
Absolutely. Okay, so where's Frank? Oh, here we go. Luda Peta, and I hope I didn't butcher that too bad. What was it like for you growing up with magic?
Let's see. Well, when I was 5 years old, I actually saw J.B. Bobo. He came to my school and did a show. So I'm sure that had a huge impact on my magic because, well, most people don't realize, most people know Bobo for his coin work and his modern coin magic book. But he traveled the Texas, Arkansas school circuit and did children's shows, and he was hilarious. I mean, one of the tricks that he did, he pulls out a lot like a human-sized rubber chicken out of a duck pan. And he had several funny bits. He was very, very funny. Funnier than most kid show magicians today, almost like circus clown-like funny. And he traveled with his wife, and his wife packed the whole show, and then he would unpack it as he did the show. And what's cool is as he would throw things off the stage, she was repacking it for the next show because he had another school to run to, shortly after that. So, I saw him. Of course, seeing Copperfield on TV had a huge impact on my magic. I studied Houdini in elementary school and did several reports on Houdini. I used to beg my father when I got home from school to tie me to chairs and handcuff me, and I would always get out. I figured out a way to get out. It'd take me hours sometimes. When I was a teenager, I bought a straitjacket, taught myself to get out of straitjackets. The real kind, not I'd get them from medical supply companies and teach myself. And luckily, I had the magic shop as a teenager, so that was kind of my college of magic. And you had to learn everything in there to be able to sell it to the other magicians. In some ways, you had to be able to fool them with it. You had to be a little bit ahead of them, and so that was great. But the best part is when I had to rely on it all the time to pay the bills. Because when you have to pay the bills to do magic, then you become a better businessman. And there's a saying, and I kind of live by it. It's show business, and business has twice as many letters as show, and therefore it deserves twice as much attention. And so I spent a lot of time, in the last, ever since cell phones have been invented, I've had the same phone number. My clients know how to reach me, and I always get back to them quickly. When they call for a show, they get a call back, pretty quick, and we nail it down. I'm pretty good at closing the deal and making things happen. But yeah, magic was great to me as a kid, and it's still, I'm like everybody else. I'm still learning, still branching out, but now I know more about who my character is and what fits and what doesn't. When I first got into magic, I tried everything: fire eating, juggling, making balloon animals, all that. And you figure out what works and what doesn't work, but all those things have come in handy over the years, and got me out of jams. One time, like balloon animals is something that I did for only a few years. And the reason I quit doing it was because one night I showed up to a restaurant gig, and I got there. The gig started at 7. I got there at 6 to have dinner, and a lady walked up to me and said, "You know, my kids are crying right now because they don't have a balloon, and they're waiting on you." And I said, "Well, you know, I don't start till 7 o'clock. I got here to have dinner." And she goes, "Well, I just want you to know they're crying because of you." And I looked over, and the kids weren't crying. She was just trying to make me feel bad because they wanted to leave, and the kids saw the magician, and they just wondered why I was sitting there doing nothing. So the first lesson I learned was don't show up to gigs early and have dinner because people don't know when you start and stop. But I remember walking up to the owner of the restaurant that night saying, "You know what, I'm never making another balloon in here again," because people just get aggravated and ornery, and you know if they don't get the right color or they pop it, they get the wrong, you know. But one time at a gig where there were supposed to be hundreds of people, 2 families showed up, and I was to entertain these families for 2 hours. And so luckily I brought lots of balloons. And so I basically ended up teaching the kids for an hour and a half how to make every balloon animal that I knew how to make, you know, just to pass the time. So anyway, later these things can come in handy even if you don't think you'll use them. So, but.
Right. No, I absolutely agree. Right now I'm moving more from, I mean, I still love my close-up stuff. I still love ring tricks, obviously. Coin cards, and that's like my bread and butter right now, but I'm moving more heavily into mentalism. And where I started was eating fire and glass, actually. I don't know if you can see this. This is a broken light bulb I was eating for another magician earlier in the week for funsies. Something I learned from Brian, actually.
Yeah.
So, like, that's not something that I want to go out and make money doing, but I will take my torches everywhere with me. I will.
Always be prepared, yeah.
Absolutely. They travel so light. I mean, a light bulb travels so light, and it's not what I want to do, but, hey, you want to see something really neat? Crunch, crunch.
Yeah, I forget who said it. I think it was Johnny Carson. I've got it somewhere. It's when luck is not luck. It's when preparation meets opportunity. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Luck is made.
Yeah, we make our own luck. That's true.
Absolutely.
And it's bad luck to be superstitious.
You're putting all that superstitious stuff into reality. It's almost like you're putting it out there. You're making it happen.
Right.
So no, I absolutely agree. If you think positively, positive things will come to you. It's just inevitable.
Yeah.
Here's another good one. Again, this is Luda, but this kind of ties into growing up with magic. Do you remember your first show?
Yes, I do. I was in high school, and my business law teacher. Now, I used to do shows for my classmates all the time. Actually, my teachers would write me hall passes to leave the classroom and the lesson plan that day to go entertain the other students. My last 2 years in high school, I never had to go to my physical education classes because the coach would write me passes to go entertain the classes. That's how I got out of running track and doing 100 sit-ups every day like the other kids. That's because of my magic. And but my very first paid gig was for my business law teacher. He's the one. He's whose class I was in when I landed my first restaurant gig. This guy said he was a clown. He left a restaurant, and they might be interested in me doing magic there. And so I approached this restaurant, told them what I did, and they were only paying I think $10 an hour. But back then, back in 1986, or that was 1986, that was good money.
Right.
I mean that's probably worth $20-$30 an hour now. Plus I was getting free food, lots of tips, booking parties, and I was working 3 hours a night, 3 nights a week, making more money than all my friends. But not only did I get that gig, but the business law teacher hired me to come do a show for his church. And I think he gave me like $100 or something to come do a gig, and I was like, wow, you can make good money doing this stuff. And so, it's paid my bills for the last 28 years. So.
And that's kind of the dream there. Personally, I'm moving over from helping my father run a full-time business, just me and him doing air conditioning, over to full-time performing, and it's been this journey in between of a lot of bar hopping, busking, and things like that. But
Yeah.
it's to a point now where I get have the pleasure of talking with people like you, and that has, I don't know, it maybe not motivated me heavily, but like been that extra push I needed to go. I need to do this full time now. It's to that point.
That's good. Well, it's nice to have that secure job with a 401k and something to fall back on. And I did try that for a few years with a company. I helped a company that was an internet company, a startup company, and I started their outbound sales team. Um, this was a long time ago, but I was still doing my shows at night. And I eventually ended up hating that job. I hated being in a cubicle. I hated having to work for people. I just figured out that I'm not made that way. And so I'm an artist before anything else. Before being a magician, an entertainer, or an author, I'm an artist, and I have to create. And so I just wasn't able to do that there. And so when I worked there, I made great money. I made $100,000 a year for this company. But now I do that well doing card tricks, 10 hours a week. So
Now, I have a question for me personally, since I've been letting everybody else ask questions. Uh, the transition. It sounds like for the most part you were always kind of heavily involved within magic anyway. How did the transition go to, hey, I'm doing this and I'm making money and I'm kind of paying my bills other ways, to, no, this is it. This is now, we're doing this.
Well, I grew up working in a magic shop, so I worked there part-time. I went to school part-time, and I was doing my restaurants. When I say restaurants, I was doing 8 restaurant shifts a week for over 10 years. One every night and 2 on Sunday. So I was making good money. Um, but it's whenever I left the magic shop that, I wasn't just selling magic. I was doing it for a living full-time. And when you have apartment, when you have your apartment that you have to pay for, I just got married. Uh, Whenever you've got that car payment roll around every month, you've got to make ends meet. You either figure out how to make it work or you don't. And so luckily I figured out how to make it work and do more shows and ask for more money. One of my mentors growing up was a local guy. His name was Lou Zaffron. And Lou was died in the 90s, but he was kind of like the Di Vernon of Dallas. And he said something to me a long time ago, and it's kind of stuck with me. He said, he knew what I was charging for my shows. He said, Jim, you can either work harder or you can work smarter. He said, I want you to try to double your prices on your shows. He said, now, let's say you do 20 shows a month. And maybe you only book 10 now, but you're still making the same amount of money. And so I took his advice to heart, and I doubled my prices. And ever since then, I always go up each year on my prices. I've always found it's easier to come down on your price than it is to go up. And so I think I'm a good negotiator. I mean, I think you have to have a good business sense. Each one of my products that I release, I won't go through with making the product until I know that I can pre-sell enough to cover all the expenses.
Right.
If I can do that, then I'll go ahead with the project. Unless it's just something I'm in love with. Like my Bamboozler books, those are risk. They cost a lot to produce, but every single one of those I've had to reprint, and they continually sell. And I'm running the 4th one now. I plan to write 6 of them, so we'll see.
Oh, nice. That's yeah. I'm a big fan of the books myself. Actually, my best man. I'm getting married here at the end of the year, and my best man was nice enough to kind of tell me a little bit about what I was getting. I'm getting the entire store scam pack.
Oh, wow.
So that'll be in there along with the book tests and all basically everything.
Wow,
So
that's a huge gift. Wow, that's cool. Well, congratulations, one on the yeah.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm really excited. I had a buddy of mine in town that had the first one, so I kind of got a thumb through it and whatnot. But I'm really excited to have my own copies now.
Cool.
Um, let's see here. Oh, here's good. Because you are a creator, and we've been talking about creating.
Yeah.
Uh, Luda asks, where do you find your inspiration? You know, what's your creative process to getting into a trick?
It's different for every effect. I mean, sometimes I'll see an effect, and usually I have a good eye for what's visual, what's going to work for me and my character. It's very seldom that I add a new trick to my repertoire anymore because after doing this for 28 years, I know what goes in what pocket, I know what works. But I'm like everybody else. I want to play with the new toys and figure out things, but 90% of that goes in a drawer and I never use it again. But what I have found, the ones that I seem to lean towards again are the ones where I can tell a story and tell the audience something about me. I think there's so many magicians, and I even fall in this category sometimes, where when they do a show, they're doing trick after trick after trick. Okay, here's a trick. Here's another trick. Okay, check out this. This is pretty cool. And one doesn't seem to flow from one to the other. And so I have found things where I can talk about my own personal interest, like Sherlock Holmes or whatever, whenever I can tell them some interest. I know a lot about Sherlock Holmes. So if I can talk about Sherlock Holmes for 10 minutes and then do an effect revolving around that premise, it's so much more interest for them because, one, they feel like they got to know me a little bit, and they didn't feel like I was pulling their leg. They buy into it. They believe it more. And so my latest effect, my latest release is called the Squeezer. And it's a routine I've been doing for a long, long time, but it didn't start off talking about the Squeezer is a serial killer.
Mhm.
And the my first book, Pockets Full of Miracles, I had taught a routine called Whatever It Takes. And it's basically based on Alan Shaxson's confabulation. There's a lot of comedy because you put Post-it notes on people, they pick a number, they pick a letter, and when I used to do it, they would pick a card. And you put the Post-it notes all over them, and then you have a prediction in the book and also on the DVD where they would remove a business card out of the card box. And it would match all these things that they said. But that was just, to me, that was a trick. I really didn't have a presentation. It was fun. It was a good trick, but I didn't have a story. And so later I thought, what if I started talking about some of my passions? Because I've seen every order of Law and Order. Dexter is one of my favorite shows that's ever aired on television. And so I thought, what if I talked about, because I have a degree in criminology and criminal justice,
Okay.
and I studied serial killers, and I know a lot about abnormal psychology. And that's part of what draws me to magic is the psychology of it. And so I thought, what if I use my interest? And so in the story I say, one of my professors was an ex-cop, and he used to discuss the topical crimes of the day in class, and that was true. And so I said there was a serial killer who was making front page news at the time, and he would leave a playing card with each of the bodies. So we'll get somebody up and say, we're going to pretend to be the sidekick on this case, and I want you to tell me, what was the age of the first victim? What's the name of the first victim? What state did this happen in? And the notes all go up, and then it ends up matching the prediction that's in full view the whole time. And so it's nice because all this is true, except obviously I've made up the story about the serial killer. But I've had people that have left the show afterwards, and they are literally convinced by the end that this serial killer really existed. And the kicker for the whole story is at the very end that the killer left a playing card on the body. They freely name any card, and whatever card they name, I can pull it out of my pocket or they can pull it out of my pocket, and it's the one card that they just freely name. And a lot of magicians are buying the DVD just to learn that routine. And the reason I call it the Squeezer is because the brand of cards that the killer used were called Squeezers. And it's a real brand of card, and it's actually got a real fascinating story about the dogs on the back, Trip and Squeezer. And I talk about it on my website. But these are real cards that exist. Technically, all cards are Squeezers now, but these were the first. These are replicas of the cards that were made in 1877. So yeah, I find things that interest me that I'm passionate about, and I try to work my magic routines around things that fascinate me. So I love a lot about mythology. Like I created a whole DVD on the subject of mirrors and mythology of mirrors, and it just I followed my passions. And one of my jobbers, I won't mention who they were, they said, "No, we don't think this is going to sell." You know, there's the card market's a very small market, and people that want to do magic with mirrors is an even smaller market. And I ignored their advice, and it was fuel on my fire. And now I've sold thousands of that DVD. And if they would have never said that, I would have never been as passionate to make them wrong. And what's funny is because of that DVD and that project, it led to me being a consultant for the movie Mirror, starring Kiefer Sutherland and the director Alex Aja. And they used me and the director and Kiefer to create the promo for the movie that was used all over the world. And if you go to my website, you can see that promo. It's a pretty cool promo for the movie.
And that's coming out?
The movie came out in 2008.
Okay, so I'll have to go look at it. Unfortunately for me, I'm one of those weird guys who cut the cable, so I don't see movies, television, all that much. If it's on the internet and I can get to it that way, that's how I get to it these days.
Yeah, I don't know if you can watch it on Netflix or Amazon, maybe. So
I'll find it now. I'm interested.
it's actually a decent film. I liked it. So unfortunately, you're not going to see the promo on the DVD, but if you go to my website, you'll see the promo that they use.
Okay, I actually have your website up on my second screen over here, so I'll check it out after the interview.
Okay.
Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to go through all of these things here.
I think I'm going to take this jacket off now. I feel like Liberace wearing this thing. So.
You're getting compliments on it.
I'll remove the sunglasses as well. Okay, now we can be serious, Jim.
Serious Jim. Oh yeah. Let's see. Where else can we? Sorry, I've lost all of my questions for a second, so I'm gonna have to go right back through them. You know what? I'm just gonna throw that down. It's not helping me right now. My phone's having issues. So, in that case, now you've been promoting some of the other stuff that that you've had coming out. Do you have anything in the works besides the future Bamboozler books? Do you have anything in the works that you haven't quite thrown out there, or you might want to hint at that might come out in the next amount of time?
I usually don't like to let anybody know what I'm working on because I don't want anybody to beat me to the punch.
Right. And you don't have to answer that. That's fine. It was something in my head.
Bamboozlers 4, like say the Diamond Jack DVD will probably be out the next couple months. I have another DVD in the can. And yeah, I have some other things that I'm secretly working on projects and things. But most of people think they know me for my products and stuff like that, but 90% of the time I'm doing gigs, I'm doing shows. And so it's very hard for me to find the time to work on these projects. But this has probably been the most productive creative year for me as far as product releases because I'm going to have at least 4 DVDs, new ones out this year. I've got my new winning spinning nickels, where you spin the nickel and it'll land heads or tails, your choice. My dice that came out, the Lucky Dice. I've got this is pretty cool. Martin Gardner was a friend of mine, and this is called the Consecutive Conundrum Puzzle. This was in one of his books, and I had it made in 3D. It's a little wooden puzzle, but you have to arrange the pegs so that no consecutive number is next to another, and you can't get this anywhere but from me directly, just because they're so expensive to make. I've got a wood maker making these. They're really nice. I just re-released Pockets Full of Miracles, the DVD. This probably gives people the most bang for their buck. There's 23 routines on here, things that have paid my bills for 28 years and won me awards and these are always my best sellers. I always sell out of these. And then another new release beyond the squeezer is my Quadrare Canopus. It's a magic square routine, but I've also married the card to any number. So what happens is they pick a card from a regular deck of cards. They write a number between 20 and 50 on it. Goes back in the deck's shuffled. Then I do the magic square, which if you don't know is a 4x4 grid where it reveals their number like 20 different ways, which blows people's minds just by itself. But the kicker is they or I can pick up the deck and count down to their number, whatever, 27, and their card with their signature appears at the 27th position. And I figured out a way to get it in that position quickly. And my whole genesis, my whole inspiration for that was got booked at the castle, and I was going to be there in a week, and I was thinking about what should I do in my set in the parlor this week. Usually when I do stand-up shows, I like to do the magic square because it gets a big reaction. It's a good middle piece. And I thought, well, magicians have seen it, and anybody that's going to see my show is going to go, why'd you just do the magic square? You're not doing anything different. So I thought to myself, what could I do different? And in a day, I figured out a way to do what I explained. And you wouldn't think the castle is a place to go and try something new, but it's the perfect place because I got to do that same act 3 times a night for 7 days in a row. I did it 21 times. And it was getting huge reactions. And so I just kept using it in my stand-up shows when I got home and for corporate clients, and they just don't see the ending coming. And even magicians are like, wow, how the hell did you get the card at that position? I didn't even see that coming. So it's done really well. It's only been out about a month, and it's already one of my better selling DVDs.
Right, and you know, and this kind of goes a little bit back to your creative process and whatnot. Something I really really liked about how you create. I've talked to a bunch of people, and almost the consistent answer I get is they go, well, what do I want the trick to look like? This is what I want to look like. How do I get there? And you completely take a completely different approach. You go, I want to tell a story about something. How can I incorporate stuff, you know, magic moments into that to be able to get that story?
Yeah.
And a really unique way of thinking of things, and I really love that.
Yeah, there's a story that I've been working on for years about Frankenstein, and the routine goes back and forth as to what happens. I don't want to explain what happens,
Absolutely.
but there's a very magical moment at the end where they realize who you're talking about as all this comes together, and I'm still not happy with it. It's not something I play with every day, but it's something I've been tinkering with for 10 years. And eventually, it'll happen. It'll all come together like it's supposed to. But I don't force it. I let things just kind of stew and percolate. And then eventually, when it happens, it's like, yeah, that's it. So.
And that's great. I mean, so many guys out there are going, okay, so I want to take this and I want it to go away, you know. And, okay, I worked on that for half an hour. I can make it look good on the camera. Let's release it.
Yeah. Well, the more I perform, the more I try to remove moves from my magic. I mean, the less moves that we do. I mean, believe me, I used to be a move monkey. I used to put the move before the trick and work on all these hard knuckle-busting moves. But the less moves you have to do, the more you can be talking to your audience and developing your rapport with them and two, it's just a move. You can get caught. You can get busted. Even if the audience doesn't verbalize it, when you walk away, they go, "Yeah, I saw that thing. You know, you did or whatever." So I don't want to ever have that moment. You know, you don't want to kill that magic moment where they don't know what happened, but they know something happened.
Right, and that's I spoke with Peter Nardi yesterday, and he was saying something very similar. And he goes, you know, I will create an effect. I'll create a move where I'll watch other people and I'll go, okay, so like 50%, 80% of those moves don't need to exist, and you can still have the same effect.
Yeah, like for example, the pass is something that I've never had to use. It's something I used to work on as a teenager relentlessly. But I've never needed a pass to get the card out of the middle of the deck and in my pocket or whatever. I just use misdirection. So
Right. I mean, for us magicians, you can watch somebody perform and go, wow, that was the ugliest move. But we were looking, everybody else
right,
is focused on the story and what's going on.
right.
And people just so focus on fooling magicians that they don't want to fool the audience, or it's not about the audience anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So much of what magicians do today, unfortunately, it's what we call bubble gum for the eyes. You know,
Yeah, very flashy. Like, I think the example I gave was the clip
and
show.
there's a place for that. I mean, I enjoy watching some of that, but when they walk away, they go, "That was a cool move. That was a cool thing he did." Not he made me feel like, he made me feel good. So
Right.
it's a different feeling. So
Absolutely. I think the example I'd given at the time is you can take and do a clip shift real quick, but there are a million different ways to take and change a card. A
yeah,
million different ways.
you could do the shift, and people think, "Hey, this guy's awesome." Or you could do a double lift and put the card in their hand, let the magic happen in their hand, and they're like, they think you're a god because it happened in their hand, and it's an easier thing to do.
I absolutely agree with that. I just got my alarm for the 20-minute till ending mark. So do we want to go through, finish it out, go ahead and announce the winners and everything?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so the winner, the 21st message, was actually David McGee.
Oh, cool.
David, I will get his information over to you just as soon as possible. And I already let him know via message, and he is just ecstatic.
Cool. Hey, FYI to the viewers out there, there's hundreds of combinations, but my buddy Marietta in New Jersey, who sold 100 of these sets or more, has told me recently you can take 2 sets of these and it still works. You can still add them all up, and the total ends up being in the hundreds of millions. And so when your prediction is in the hundreds of millions, it just makes you look more like a brainiac. So anyway, I just thought that's kind of interesting. So.
All right, well, maybe we can talk about that a little bit later and see if I can get my hands on them. That was one of those little pocket effects for my walk around that I always wanted to bring around.
Yeah, it's different. It's not a card trick. It's not a coin trick. It's just kind of a different piece. So.
Like, here, bring out blocks, you examine them, let's have fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so David won. We already you already went over the special deals on your site about PayPaling you and whatnot, correct?
Yeah, and on the contest for this little device, that offer is good until the end of this week, until October the 4th as well, if I didn't say so. So they got some time to do their homework. So
I already know you described it, but I had a few people going, "Oh, I already forgot the question behind the trick." So can you reiterate the question one more time?
Yeah, the question is, this was one of my first products that I ever released. It has 2 little LED lights on it. There's an on and off switch on the back and a sound volume thing. What would happen is I would have someone turn this little device on, set it on the table or desktop, have someone pick a card, shuffle the card back into the deck, and then I would flick the card, like pop it over the device, and whenever it was their selected card or signed card, this thing starts to light up and it starts to beep. And it works with just a regular deck of cards and this little device that I created, like say, in the early 90s. And there's a lot of, when you look inside here, it's hard to see, but there's a lot of little electrodes and components, and it works off a 9-volt battery. And these things used to retail for like 25, 30 bucks, I forget. And Max Maven reviewed it, gave it a good review. But that was in the, I want to say it was the early 90s or mid 90s. So they're going to have to do their homework to find it, but if they do, they win the cool prize that there's only 1 of 5 of. And that's the Bamboozlers 3 proof sheet. And I'll even add this. I'll add a signed Diamond Jim poster as well. Do that. So.
That's a big. I'm only upset now that I can't enter this one.
Oh, you can't enter. You're exempt from this.
I am unfortunately exempt for this because I'm hosting, and if for whatever reason I won, there'd
That
be a
would look
lot of
shady.
upset.
Yeah, that would look shady. Yeah.
So I think that that's pretty close to it. We have some more questions, but I don't think we quite have enough time to get to it. Not within, not and still keep within the time.
Right.
So tell you what, I think this is where we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Unless
Yeah.
you have anything else you
Tell the
add.
guys if they want. If they think of questions later, they can always. I would prefer if they friend me on Facebook, friend my fan page, not my friend page. My friend page is filling up pretty quick, and they can shoot their questions there, and I'll try to respond in a timely manner. And so yeah, they can follow my adventures online. A lot of people use Facebook, a lot of people use Twitter, a lot of them use YouTube, some use Google. I found a site that combines all of those, and that's you Googling Twitface. So actually, if you go to YouGooglingTwitface.com, that's my website.
I will. I'm writing that down right now, actually. All right. So I just want to thank you one more time for taking time out of your busy schedule for coming and visiting with us and asking all of or answering rather all of our questions. An absolute joy. We have just as a few announcements for upcoming Q&As. We have, of course, Diamond Jim Tyler today. On October 2nd, we will be hosting the business side of magic with expert Joe M. Turner. October 9th, we have Pablo Amira. October 16th, Oliver Dobbs. The 23rd, Stuart Burrell. And the 29th, Matthew Wright. So we got a whole list of Q&As coming up here in full circle over the next month. All really good people.
Yeah.
And that's it. Thank you so much, Jim. I couldn't express my gratitude more for having you on with us. So.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So that's going to conclude our broadcast. And you guys have a great day. We'll see you next time.
See you on the flip-flop.